Blue and red lights flashed across the lake that night, sirens screaming, neighbors pouring out in pajamas, and there I was standing on my own dock while Karen, the HOA president, pointed at me and screamed to the cops that I was trespassing. On my own property. Imagine that for a second. Getting dragged out of your house because your HOA chair decides she doesn't like you. Act 1. The conflict begins. When I moved into Lake Silver Pine earlier that year, I thought I'd found peace. A small cedar cabin, my daughter Lily's laughter echoing by the dock, my old mutt Baxter trotting around with his floppy ear, it felt like home. But I underestimated one thing, Karen. You know the type, perfectly pressed blouse binder of rules, smile sharp enough to cut glass. The queen of HOA fines. At first it was petty stuff. Your porch paint isn't on the approved pallet. Your mailbox is 2 inches too tall. Those flowers your daughter planted, wildflowers, are invasive. I laughed it off at first, paid a couple warnings no one else cared about. But then came the board vote. According to Karen, I had violated too many covenants, and the HOA had decided I needed to move out. Yes, she literally told me to pack up and leave the house I had bought, paid taxes on, and spent months repairing. When I refused, she escalated. She called the cops. That night, under the sirens and flashing lights, she screamed at the officers. "He's trespassing. He refuses to leave. This is HOA property," while recording me on her phone like I was some criminal. Neighbors gathered, Mr. Jenkins with his socks and sandals, Nora hugging her robe, Mike and Sarah whispering behind their frog-decorated porch. Karen paraded her stack of evidence, HOA minutes, violation photos, a vote sheet. Meanwhile, Officer Brooks asked me for proof I actually owned the dock, and in that moment I felt my throat tighten. Proof. Did I really need to prove I belonged on my own land? I crouched, brushed pine needles aside, and pointed to a survey pin shining in the dirt. The officer leaned down, flashlight catching it. "Not trespassing," I said quietly. "Not tonight. Not ever." For a second the crowd went silent. Karen's jaw locked. But her eyes, they told me this wasn't over. Act 2. Escalation and turning point. The next week, Karen doubled down. She put up a brand new locked gate across the lake path, slapped a sign that read, "HOA members only," and strutted around like she owned the water. She spread rumors. "He's sneaking in tenants. He's hiding something. He doesn't follow rules." Some neighbors started avoiding me. Others whispered. I could feel the walls closing in. One night I sat on my porch, Lily's nightlight glowing through her window, Baxter pressed against my leg. I thought maybe Karen's right. Maybe I made a mistake moving here. Maybe I should just sell, leave, quietly protect my daughter from this circus. It broke me a little to admit it. Have you ever second-guessed your entire life because one bully made you doubt yourself? But just when I was about to give up, the universe twisted. Karen's nephew Tyler got caught red-handed, literally with bolt cutters in the dark, slicing open the very lock Karen had installed. When the officers shined their lights, his hood fell back. Karen's face drained of color. She tried to spin it. "He's just a boy. He was fixing it. He didn't know better, but it didn't fly." The whole neighborhood saw it. And then, if that wasn't enough, another scene unfolded. A young man stumbled out of the woods clutching his arm, blood dripping down, shouting he'd been attacked by some stranger in a hoodie. Karen gasped, dramatically turned to the crowd, and of course pointed at me. "See? This is what happens when he ignores rules. Strangers, criminals, chaos. It's all because of him." But something didn't add up. The injured guy's shirt was already frayed. His groans got louder the moment the ambulance pulled up like he was auditioning for Broadway. And then I caught it on my porch camera, the footage no one expected. Karen halfway down the path signaling him forward with her hand. A literal cue to start his little performance. When I showed Officer Hale the video, she whistled under her breath. That doesn't look good for her. Didn't look good. It was devastating. Proof she had staged the whole assault, weaponized fear, and dragged a stranger into our neighborhood to frame me. At that point I thought, finally Karen's done. But I was wrong. The real storm hadn't even hit yet. Act 3. Climax and Justice. That night, thunder cracked across the lake, rain hammering down when the truth ripped open wider than I could have imagined. Karen's nephew slipped. He whispered the name Uncle Ray, the shadowy figure stalking the woods. The gunshot that echoed from Route 9. That was Karen's brother, Raymond Carter, fresh out of prison for armed robbery. My stomach dropped. Suddenly all her paranoia about outsiders and obsessive HOA control made sense. She wasn't protecting the neighborhood. She was protecting a secret. Raymond had stashed stolen money near the lake years ago, and Karen had spent all this time running the HOA like a dictatorship to keep anyone from discovering it. And then he showed himself. Lightning lit the trees, and there he was, broad-shouldered, soaked hoodie, clinging to him, pistol, glinting in the rain. Karen screamed, "Ray, don't," but he didn't even look at her. His eyes locked on me on my dock, on the very land where he'd buried his loot. "You!" he growled, gun lifting toward me. "You're gonna help me dig." Everything slowed. Baxter barked madly. Lily's window glowed behind me. My chest hammered so hard it felt like my ribs might split. Sergeant DeMarco stepped in front of me, weapon drawn steady as stone. "You're not touching him, Ray. Put the gun down." Ray laughed a low, bitter laugh that cut through the storm. "Prison didn't break me. You can't stop me. I'm not leaving empty-handed." The neighbors were screaming from their porches, some ducking, some recording. Karen collapsed, sobbing. I only wanted to keep order, but no one was listening anymore. The moment cracked open. Ray's finger twitched on the trigger, then everything exploded at once. Officers shouted. The dock splintered under footsteps. Flashlights sliced through the rain. Baxter lunged so hard my arm jerked. The gun fired, wood-shattered neighbors shrieked. And in that chaos, Karen broke. Her mask, her power, her grip on the community. All of it crumbled as the officers forced her down, cuffs snapping shut, not on me, but on her. False reports, obstruction, harboring a fugitive. Her reign as queen of the HOA ended in the mud with rain and tears streaking her face. I didn't cheer. I didn't celebrate. I just stood there, heart pounding, knowing one thing for certain. The villain had finally fallen. And that's where it ends. Because justice doesn't always come clean or quick, but when it does, it reminds you of one thing. Truth always outlives the lies.